All right, what's up, Jeff?
Hey, Chris, how are you? Welcome to Wrestling for the Weekend, July 15th, 2023. How's it going?
It's going good. Think we should let's go ahead and get to the big news from Dynamite, and then we'll see how much time we have left after that. Because I think we're going to spend a lot of time on these fifth member reveals.
Yes, yeah, there's a lot of AEW stuff to talk about. So let's get right into it. We got the two reveals at the end of Dynamite last Wednesday. We'll start with BCC. Um, it was Pac in the end, which I thought was a great choice. I thought a good choice, logical choice, and it's going to add to the match a lot. If you're going to replace Danielson with anybody, I think Pac is up there as far as skill and explosiveness. It's going to be great. He hit Kenny with a chair. They beat the crap out of him, and then we also got the elite reveal, which is it was what everybody was wanted. We got Kota Ibushi on a video screen, not in person, and the match is official. What were your initial thoughts on both reveals?
Yeah, so I love the Pac reveal too. That's a name I'd heard thrown out during the week because of how much it makes sense for their history, and that the BCC was a little bit more open to me. There was a few names that
Yeah,
I'd heard that I would like, so I was almost more interested in that one because the elite one, it was gonna be like Coda or nothing unless they just
yes,
crazy surprised me somehow. So I was more intrigued to see who the BCC actually got. And I love Pac. That Pac brought back the history instantly when he was
yes.
attacking Kenny. He was screaming, "You broke my face," or my nose, whatever it was. And I thought that worked great. And I'm really excited to see him in the freaking cage match, especially.
Yeah,
Like just from ignoring all the history and everything, that's a great person to throw in there just to improve the match quality. Along with Ibushi, obviously, who,
of course.
God, I'm almost scared of what he's gonna. It's weird. I can't really think of seeing Ibushi in those style matches necessarily. Like he's
It's
done some
true.
like it's not like he's ever done really done the whole death match or even hardcore stuff as much that I can remember. He's done his
Not much.
crazy street fighting stuff, but
That's right. And as we know, like Japan, like doesn't really. Correct me if I'm wrong. They don't really do many cage matches. Like I know they just did one for Stardom, but that was like a big thing. They don't really do
yeah,
that stuff.
I can't remember New Japan doing one in recent memory,
I
like
can't think of any.
literally decades. Noah's done some the last couple years. I
Noah
know
has
they had a
okay.
big one last year. Stardom's definitely been doing them more. But yeah, so I'm not sure if that maybe just is a New Japan thing. 'Cause I think
Yeah,
All Japan even had one, but I feel like that's definitely newer. They don't
yeah.
do all those gimmicks a whole lot. They'll rarely do like ladder matches every now and then too. But
I would have to ask DDT people too if they did. I'm
yeah,
assuming they probably do them once in a while, but cage match is just not that popular. Not as
but
popular
they're
as
also you got to remember they're in smaller venues usually.
that's true. So you
So
can't
like
see
like
anything.
that's a reason Impact never does cage matches.
Ah, that's a good point. I didn't
Just
think.
more the logistics kind of thing. But they'll spam ladder matches because that's easier.
Yeah, I guess because with the mat, like with the cage, you kind of have to be higher up to be able to see in, right? So if it's a small venue, you won't
Yeah.
be able to see anything. I didn't think about that. That makes sense. But yeah, I agree with like Pac is just such a great choice. I agree with you too. I love that he brought back the history between him and Kenny right away. So now you've got Kenny with his two biggest rivals really in this match,
Mhm.
in Mox and Pac. This is the guys he's been fighting since literally day one of AEW. Same with
I feel
Hangman.
like
Actually,
it's
Hangman has
really
history with Pac too.
downplayed how much Pac has feuded with the Elite his
Yes,
entire AEW career.
yeah.
Because he
He was
started with Hangman, he had the series with Kenny. He's had issues with the Bucks. Like he
it's
hates these
true.
people.
Yeah, and not to mention like just the 6 man stuff too, right? Like
Yeah,
in more recent memories, but he just they just don't like each other at all, and it's he also makes perfect sense. He also adds a bit of British to the BCC, which is sorely lacking. Since I don't know if he's going to
that's
join
true.
BCC forever. At this point, I'm
I
going
would
to
doubt
assume
it
he's not.
personally,
Yeah,
but yeah,
right now I'd assume he's not. It's just a one-off. If he does, I would not complain. It would be fine. But he kind of just seems kind of like a he's more of a leader than a follower, or more of a loner than a follower as well. I think as far
They're
as
still
recruiting.
very vague about whether Takeshita's in it or not, and Callis too. I feel like they're still not. And once this whole thing's over, they're going to keep feuding with Kenny, and the rest of the BCC will probably move on. Then we'll get clear answers. But it's kind of odd how vague they seem to be. Like 1 week the graphic will show Takeshita's name separate, and the next week it won't.
Yeah, and I will say too, I'm glad you brought that up because during Dynamite, during that segment, Mox was like hugging and kissing Don Callis on the head.
Yes.
So, which is a deviation that when it was even just a few weeks ago, like they're like smiling and friendly now. That's weird. So there's some shit going on, but I just not really sure what. I like the slow burn on that though. I don't mind it at all.
Yeah, because I'm assuming he's still going to have his whole family, and the
Yes.
Jericho thing will progress. And I'm assuming as the Jericho thing progresses, and maybe some other folks get involved, like the BCC's going to go off do their own thing.
Should,
But
yeah.
I don't know because like they're really giving mixed signals about that. So
Yeah, and we'll jump into the Jericho thing since you brought it up. Like, first of all, I'm sure you and me and everybody else is very happy that he was not the fifth guy.
yeah,
We were both correct that it was a red herring. Super happy about that. It would have been okay, but like, I don't need to see Jericho in a third
I'd almost not
match.
even call it a red herring because it was like I think the intention was I think we kind of got it wrong as fans. I mean, a little bit it's on them
Okay,
the way they presented it. Like it seemed like those were two separate Don Callis stories, and I don't think we were ever meant to think he was actually going to be a fifth member
I can see
because
that.
like the way after the segment when Callis was talking about how he would introduce the guy solo, he like didn't even act like he was going to bring out Jericho or tease it or anything. So I, I kind of realized that when we were watching, I was like, maybe that was never meant to be the intention. But we, for a whole week, that's what we were discussing. So they clearly botched it a little.
A little bit because I think what muddied the water, especially, is while he didn't ask him to join the match, he prefaced it with a lot of Omega talk, and
Mm-hmm.
that kind of made you think that maybe that was going to go that way. It's I think you're right, and I think what they're doing is they're setting up the angle for after the
Mm-hmm.
Elite beat. I I shouldn't say I'm 100% sure, but I'm fairly certain the Elite are winning this feud.
I don't think Ibushi's going to lose. Honestly, did
That's
I think I
stupid. Yeah.
posted this theory. I think they might have because they said they're going to announce Claudio's challenger
I
for
know what
Ring
you're
of
gonna
Honor
say.
right after the match. So just have Ibushi pin him, and then Tony or whoever comes out with that victory over the champion. The match for Death Before Dishonor is Ibushi versus Claudio. There you go.
The only problem I have with
Well,
this,
there wouldn't be pins though. Let me correct that. It'd have to be a submission. I think right. They don't do pins
it all depends. It would
in
have to
the
be a
yeah
submission or a give up. So technically, that's a submission.
yeah.
Oh man, if they like have Danielson throw the white flag,
Yeah,
because
that'd be
like
perfect,
Danielson maybe
honestly.
on Yuta or something like that, that would also be really good.
Yeah, and yeah, he wouldn't have to beat Claudio necessarily. He
No,
could just beat you, but let Coda get the win if that's what they're gonna do. Or if not, maybe have him and Claudio brawl to the back or something. Like they
yeah,
leave the cage while other people, just something to tie them together would be all they would need.
I can't. Okay, I can't see either of the Young Bucks winning the match. That's for sure.
That'd
They're
be
not.
pointless. Yeah.
That's not happening. So that leaves Hangman, Coda, Omega. I don't think Hangman needs it right now. So in my mind, it's either Coda or Omega. Omega makes the most sense, I think, just because like it's kind of his feud in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So him getting the win would make a lot of sense. I think he beats Takeshita, maybe would make sense, and then they could kind of take it from there and then continue that feud from there. But Takeshita could beat him too. There's always that small thing that I could see happening. I don't know. It's a tough one. But either way, I think it's on the elite side. I think it's Omega or Dakota that wins the match, 100%.
I think most likely Yuta's probably gonna be the one tapping out.
Yeah, I
Like
mean, it would make
on the
sense
BCC side, like that might be too obvious, but
for sure. And I'm not even sure how like does Kota even have a sub? I mean, he's MMA.
um,
He's got MMA training, so you can just
yeah,
pick
and I feel like
whatever.
I've seen him do like your like reverse STF kind of stuff
Okay.
before. But yeah, and that's if Tony. It depends on how much of a mark Tony is for the old school War Games matches, which I think he is. They used to just end with the most random shit. Like they'd just be beating the hell out of each other for 25 minutes. Someone would get caught in like like a basic like bear hug or something. That's that.
That's so
Because it'd
weird.
be like the
Yeah.
guy that was in there from the start, something like that, you know.
So the first one ended with a give up because they threatened to throw Jericho off the cage, and then he threw him off
Yeah.
anyways. And then the second one ended with the double submission, and Claudio got it, and then Kingston was pissed because he had it won. I think that's
Yeah.
how those two went. So it'll be
Yeah.
interesting to
Yeah,
see
that's
what
right.
kind
I
of finish.
forgot about the second one completely.
Yeah. So
That finish.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
on top of the cage as well. They both ended on top of the cage, actually. Funnily enough.
Yes, technically the first one did too, in that really weird spot.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, whatever. At least nobody got hurt. But yeah, that was weird.
Barely.
So
Jericho almost fucking died.
I would not take that spot again. There's no need for that. I'm not sure what they're going to do this time. It'll be interesting. As far as the Coda being in the match, I mean, thank God. I think it would have been like malpractice to like not do it with the amount of teasing they've done like after shows and stuff like that, and the whole and like especially when they mentioned Kenny was going to Japan.
Yeah. And
I
that
mean,
wasn't even that was on screen.
that was on screen, and everybody, like anybody who follows New Japan knows that like it couldn't be anybody from New Japan that was big because they're all in the fucking G1. So it couldn't be
Yeah,
anybody.
that's actually a good point too.
So it
Couldn't even
wasn't
be
going to be Okada.
yeah,
It wasn't going to be anybody like that. So it could have been like maybe some random dude from DDT, but like at this point, it was Ibushi or bust, like you said earlier. Like couldn't be anybody else. What did you? How do you think the match is going to go? Like, do you think they're going to go fairly long? What kind of spots do you think they're going to be doing? Like, what are you expecting from the match overall?
I think they're gonna take probably the second hour of Dynamite. Like I think
Yeah.
that's what the first two mostly did. They probably start like 10 minutes into the second hour or something
Yeah.
after intros and everything. And I don't know. I think this one might actually stay in the cage a little more. But at the same time, that's a lot of bodies, even with the two rings. I feel like it is almost just more practical to get out of the cage for more space to do shit. So I don't know. But I do think he might want to mix it up a little bit. He's had two finish on top. This one could be. I know I say this, it's gonna sound weird, but because it's such more of a blood feud than the other two were, I feel like this might be more grounded, not as many flashy spots. But that's why I say that sounds weird because you got the Bucks and Coda in there and everything.
The Bucks,
But
especially, I was going to ask, they're going to. What kind of stupid shit are they going to do this match? Especially Nick.
yeah, I don't know because I really don't. I don't want to see anyone like jumping off the top of the cage or anything.
No.
I like brawling on top, but I don't need those big jumps. Unless you, I mean, you could do. There's no one in there like Sammy that I think really would just take that bump he did last year where he flew off the table.
No, I don't think so.
I mean, they might convince you to, but I can't think of anyone in this match that they.
Nobody really does that kind of stuff. Like, I'm not to say that the Young Bucks don't do high flying, but I know what you're saying. There's a difference between.
They don't do those big bumps. They really do. They're good at trying to avoid those.
No, they're safe high flyers, if that makes any sense. I agree.
They do like lucha stuff more than like American high flying. I would say.
Yeah, they don't do like 630s and shit like that. Like
no.
do like basic like 360s and stuff, which is fine.
I wonder what the weapon involvement is. Probably what I'm most curious in, because fucking what was it? Was it Kenny that brought up the skewers and whatever in his promo last week?
Which means they're going to use skewers.
Yes, they saw that visual on Twitter. The one you have is your avatar,
and they're like,
they're gonna do that shit again. It's gonna be hilarious.
Oh man,
get too.
People are gonna be so mad. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
Also, like, how are they gonna gimmick a shoe this time? Because they're gonna do it.
I like the thumbtack shoe myself. That's my favorite that they do. Don't take any more fucking barefoot thumbtack spots though. God, that looks so bad. Probably no explosives this time, but God, I don't fucking know. I think they're gonna be doing the barbed wire, the skewers.
Probably a callback to all their matches, I would assume, most likely. Yeah.
I don't think it'll be as violent as the Desperado Moxley match was, because part of that match was they were just fucking stabbing each other. But I think it will be similar style of violence, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it'll be like a semi-death match, kind of.
Yeah.
Not like
I'll be shocked if there's no barbed wire involved.
Yeah, I mean, I could see like the barbed wire broom coming back and all that other shit,
Mhm.
especially between Moxley and Omega. We've got a lot of like bad blood and a lot of like signature weapons,
You
quote
know that
unquote.
the fucking screwdriver is going to be there.
Oh,
Pac might
good,
bring his
great, of
hammer.
course, of course. Oh yeah, the hammer's a good idea.
I
That's
did see
great.
on
Yeah.
Twitter. I don't know where this came from, and it may have even been an old picture, but it was at least implied to have been at Dynamite. But Pac was just walking backstage with that hammer, but he didn't have it in the segment. So I was like,
No, he chose a chair instead, I guess.
yeah.
I forgot about the hammer. That I can't believe they did like a whole like feud based off a hammer. It was all right. I like that feud. But
I liked it better than the screwdriver stuff, honestly. Like, I'm not a fan of how much they've kept using the screwdriver. I thought it was going to be a one off, and it was fine for that one off, and maybe like the reciprocation. But I don't know. There's cooler weapons to use. I don't mind mixing it up sometimes, but
yeah, I mean,
classics are okay too.
I don't mind the screwdriver, but I do think that they could be more creative in how they've used it after the fact. Like the first two times, like you said, logical. No,
I
hit it
love
once.
Brian's like explanation that made no sense. It was like freaking batshit crazy person explanation. He's like, I was at home doing some work in my house. There's,
He just picked up a
like what?
screwdriver and he's like,
It's
"Yeah,
a lot of people like podcasts I listen to too. They don't remember that clearly, but it's not like it would really help their complaints anyway. But it's kind of funny because they'll be like really confused. They're like, why do they keep using this screwdriver? Like because they don't remember that original promo because it was just so batshit anyway.
But even then,
But
like,
that was actually how it got brought in. Was
yeah,
Davison
I
said he was
remember.
being a handyman.
Wasn't he? I think he was even. I think he was showing his daughter how to fix something. It was something even more
Yes,
stupid.
yes,
And then he's like, and I just look at the screwdriver, and then he just went on a rant about amateurs.
yeah. It's fucking crazy. You got anything else you want to add to Blood and Guts before we move on to some other AEW
um,
stuff though?
I don't think so. I think we pretty much covered everything. I mean,
Oh, one more thing, not for the match, but for Boston next week. Do you think Mercedes shows?
no.
I don't either. I think it's been cold by design so that when she does show up somewhere, it's going to be a huge pop.
Yeah,
So it could be this one, but I don't think it's worth getting anyone's hopes up. Like
me
I'll just say
neither.
that.
I think that they've got more than enough with blood and guts to hype the crowd. They don't really need to tack on
Yeah,
Mercedes.
it would actually be overkill too.
Um, if it wasn't in Canada, I would actually say there would be a better chance of Mercedes showing up on Collision to like
Mm-hmm.
challenge the Owen Hart winner. But maybe Julia does that tonight. Also possible.
You'd have to check Stardom's ridiculous schedule to know if
I
that's
don't
a
know, man.
possibility. I can't keep
Who
up with
knows?
theirs.
It's so hard
They
with
put
their
up more shows than New
schedule.
Japan.
They do. They put up a lot of shows, and their time zone difference makes things like really complicated. Because I'm assuming you need at least a day and a half of travel before time to even just get here in time, and to
Mm-hmm.
also like get used to the time zone because that'll mess you up pretty good.
Yeah, and if it's just gonna be like an appearance, that's not worth that flight. Like a come out, hold up your
No,
belt.
you can just
But
do a
they could
video.
do that's where a video package would work fine.
Yeah, it'd be fine.
Like that
And in
stuff works
fact,
perfect for like Okada Danielson.
I think if they did that tonight or next collision, I think somebody should. I guess you know what though. It
Get her on
depends.
fucking American TV and watch
Yes,
everyone explode.
it just depends on who wins. I guess we can go into that now since we're done talking about that match.
Yeah,
We
that'll
can
work.
talk about a few other things. We can talk about the tournament finals, the Owen Hart tournament finals, because I do think it depends who wins that as well. Because I see Willow Julia rematch a lot more likelier than a random Ruby Julia match. No offense to Ruby. I guess it's possible, but I don't
Yeah, I
know.
think so too. And I mean, I know like technically, so we know Ruby's lost the Owen finals last year or whatever. But I saw on Twitter today she's lost all three tournaments she's been in AEW in the finals, or
Mm,
maybe it was two, and this would be the third final she's been. I think
okay,
it may have
what
been
was
that.
the first one? Like
It was that
T-
TBS title
TBS,
final. Yeah, where Jade beat her.
where she
It's
shouldn't have been
like,
in the final
damn.
in the first place.
Yeah. But yeah, that's like, I mean, I could see them wanting to give Ruby that, but I don't think that's right. And I don't think they should just so she doesn't lose another tournament finals because no one really cares about that stuff. You book the right story and let the stats talk for themselves after, in my
If
opinion.
Ruby wins, it's because they want to push Ruby. Then I'm okay with that. Don't book her like because she lost last year and you want to give her something to make
Yeah.
her feel bad. That's stupid. If you want to push Ruby and maybe even like maybe set up something between Ruby and Tony, sure. Uh, I mean, I'd prefer. I would prefer. What's her name? It's escaping me right
Willow.
now. Thank you.
Yeah.
Willow to win, obviously.
I think they should do the Willow Julia rematch in the United States too. I don't recall when their next show is. Maybe not till October.
Oh wow, that's
But
far away.
yeah, and they're doing that All Star Junior Festival too, but that's separate. It's not even technically New Japan branded, even though it is.
Dude, could do it in the UK.
Yeah, they actually could. That would be.
I would
be
be.
sweet.
I would be very
Kinda-
happy with that.
Yeah.
I think that would be, and I think that would maybe even be. Doesn't she have like some roots to the UK? Wasn't she born
She
there?
was born in England, I believe. Yeah, or the UK somewhere.
Yeah, so there we go. That could be cool.
She's half Italian, half Japanese, born in England or something like that. Crazy.
But her main language is Japanese, second language Italian, and I think third language is English. That's pretty.
Yeah,
far.
I don't recall how much English she actually even speaks. I know all her tweets are written in Japanese and stuff, but who knows? That could just be for the target
I mean,
audience.
she sounds Japanese when she wrestles too. Like she
Mm.
she literally wrestles like a Japanese joshi, like with the screens and everything. So
Mm.
that would be great. So that's one final. So I guess we're both on the same page that we think Willow should win that one. I think it's going to be a really good match, though. I think they're going to kill it.
There's only like 3 matches announced for Collision too. The 2 finals and the tag match. So hopefully it gets a lot of time. I assume the tag match is going to get time.
Well, it's 2 out of 3 falls. It's probably going to get 40 fucking minutes again. And then we'll talk about the other final match, and then we'll talk about the tag match as well, because Collision's got some very interesting high stakes matches this week. So I'm pretty interested. So we'll get into it. Ricky Punk. First of all, who do you think is going to win?
I still would bet money on Punk, but I can't predict where they're going story wise with either of them after this. So that's why I can't be super confident. I did pick this finals. I thought it was pretty obvious. I gave Hobbs a slight chance to make it as well, but I was like, when I saw the brackets, I was like, no way Punk isn't making the finals. So I was like, probably going to win then. But I just don't know because I don't even know if there's going to be big story progression. They could just have Punk win clean, shake hands with Ricky, no heel turn, and that would be fine. But they could also go way, different. So I'm intrigued, though, because there's so many possibilities they could go with both guys.
I do think that would be the most boring route. It'd be okay, but I feel they have an opportunity to do like something cool, and I feel like Lowell Punk wins.
If they were to do something like that, I would definitely say they need to have something else. Like, well, it wouldn't really be Bullet Club Gold related, I guess, because they're going to be too busy with their own match.
It would be Joe related, I have to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would actually be good. I could see Joe costing Punk the match straight up.
That's what I think is going to happen. Honestly, I think Joe's going to cut. Maybe I'm fantasy booking for something I would like, but I think it would make a lot of sense, and it would be very cool if Joe cost him the match. Wait, no, never mind. Cancel all of that. I forgot what happened in ROH this week, and I forgot that there's a tournament for the TV title.
Yeah.
It's not going to be Joe Punk at Death Before Dishonor, so scratch all of that.
I did think that slight possibility. I was like, probably no way Punk's working that show, but they almost had me believing there was a chance.
It would have been cool, and what a way to get some subs, man. But you know what, though? If they were going to do that,
no, what sucks, you don't even get it on Honor Club. You got to pay separate, and then it's added a few months later, or like maybe a month.
That's true.
That's like my least favorite thing about it. I wish the pay-per-views were included.
Either included or at least cheaper, like make it like $10 or something. But especially with what they're putting on right now, I don't think is. I don't know if Death Before Dishonor is going to be a $40 pay-per-view, but we'll talk about that later.
It might only be. I'm gonna look it up real quick. I think it might be a little cheaper at least than
maybe 30.
40. Well, 40 actually would already be cheaper, right? Because
that's right.
AEWs are 50. Right? That may be what I was thinking of. But yeah, I want to look that up real quick.
Yeah, while you do that, yeah.
Maybe not, because I don't have the Bleacher Report app downloaded like I thought I did.
Is it not on Fight as well?
No, only Bleacher Report in America. I mean, you.
Oh, that's why I see it, right? Yeah, I'm a cheat.
Yeah.
This is when I would plug our VPN plug if we had one. If we had a sponsor. Please sponsor us.
Bro, I don't even know if it's fucking on Bleacher Report yet to view.
Are you serious?
I'm only pulling. Um,
I'm almost certain it's $39.99 on.
yeah, I'm only pulling last year's, and I went to the AEW section, which has all the ROH included, and Forbidden Door is the most recent, doesn't have upcoming. It's like I think they put them on a week out usually.
Either way,
So, which we are there now. It's next Friday, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's coming up really fast, and they've basically built up almost nothing for it. But that's a
The
whole
one
other
match they had slight build for got
canceled.
too, which sucks.
So yeah, that's typical Tony Luck. But we'll talk about that either later or some other time. Won't get too distracted.
Yeah. But yeah, so Punk Ricky, yeah, there's a lot of possibilities they could go with, but I can't make a prediction. I think it's going to be a really good match. I'm really intrigued to see the face heel split because I don't think anyone's going to know until they both come out and sees. I hope they just work it, by ear with the crowd reaction. I think
I have no idea. So here's the thing about that too. Like, it's a good thing you brought up. So in Toronto, it was more 50-50 or even more at Forbidden Door. It was even more leaning towards people booing Punk. However, and I know like Collision is Punk's show, so there's going to be more pro Punk crowds, but still, there was almost nobody, if anybody, booing him in the last two collisions, or the last like two or one collision. I guess it's just the one.
For sure, last week I can't really remember the week before. But last week, yeah, that was pretty much 100% cheers. I mean, you'd have some boos every now and then. But boos are also louder than cheers in general.
Yeah.
Like it could be just a few people and they will be louder than a lot of cheers. But yeah, I barely heard any boos last week.
Yeah,
that was very pro.
And I have no idea what kind of crowd Calgary is going to be compared to.
They have a bigger crowd too. I saw the WrestleTix post. I think it's a little under 6K. That's probably the biggest collision crowd so far, besides the debut. So.
Oh, and let me tell you, they're going to be drunk as tonight because it's the Calgary Stampede, and if you get tickets to AEW, you can go to the Stampede for free.
Wow, Tony's such a fucking mark.
Yeah, well, because you have to go through the Stampede to get to the stadium. Barely do that in the States.
Yeah,
but it's super smart. But it's gonna be most likely a pretty like wild crowd tonight if they're wrestling fans. Hopefully they are.
I'm glad they did do Battle of the Belts after this show, because I was expecting this crowd to be a good one too.
Yeah.
So I think they'll be able to support the 3 hours. Oh, I wonder if surely they're not going to take much ROH before Collision this week.
That would be a mistake.
I mean, they could get away with an hour, which would be a little less. But
yeah, they'll probably do now. I mean, that we can kind of take a sidetrack here because it's actually a good discussion to have. Like, it's kind of looking more and more like that they're not going back to Hollywood Studios or whatever it was anymore.
It doesn't. Yeah, really Universal.
Universal, yeah. It's been a while now. I just don't think it's happening, especially with.
I don't think it fits with the schedule anymore with Collision. Like it's just.
Yeah, and they shut off Dark and Elevation, so there's really no point. Which is honestly too bad because I really thought that ROH was better there.
I did too. I love those episodes so much more. The only ones I've really enjoyed as much as those were like those pre-Supercard ones that they did. Yeah. Like before Dynamite, because those crowds were crazy hot that week and stuff.
They were, yeah. I think they were in Florida or something like that, but they were just having it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of ROH is kind of missing that studio feel now, and it's kind of doesn't really. It's a weird thing. It's not a bad show. It's got a lot of good wrestling, but it's definitely lacking some structure that I thought the studio aspect helped a lot with, and feels
they could film and then splice everything together, make it all make more sense. It worked a lot better.
And they can. I feel like they could just plan more stuff and be at the venue for longer, as opposed to just having to rush a bunch of matches and then having to just add stuff post. But anyways, that's kind of too bad. Hopefully they figure something out for that. Maybe Tony managed to sneak in ROH into the max deal at some point. Who knows?
Yeah, that'd be preferable for me.
Add it as a second library kind of thing, like as a tier 2 or tier 3 kind of thing that you get with AEW, whatever. If they add
if they could just combine Honor Club, like into like basically add AEW library, the AEW library to Honor Club, and just
Exactly.
merge that with
Exactly.
Max. That would be awesome.
Basically, like they would do a WWE network, but it would be
Yeah,
inside of
and
Max, kind
then
of like
maybe Tony could even scoop up some more libraries out there. It's not a lot left really, but
Shikara.
yeah, that's the big one. And
What's the one?
PWG is still a pipe dream
Shimmer
for
would be
me.
good too. I
Yeah,
don't know if that's available, but that would be huge. I think, and I think maybe if he watched more Shimmer, he would maybe get some inspiration on to book more women's stuff. I don't know. Could be.
yeah,
But yeah, I like that idea either way. But back to the Punk and Stark stuff. I agree with you. First of all, that it's Punk's tournament to lose. I think that was pretty obvious. At the very least, up to the finals, there was no way Punk was not going to be in the finals. I completely agree with you there. It kind of makes sense. But it's going to be really interesting. Either not just who wins, but like you said, how they get there. Is it going to be clean? Is Punk going to get another lucky kind of like ticky tacky win like he did against Joe, which was like he got lucky? Uh, or is Stark's going to turn and do something dirty to win? Is Punk going to be pissed if he loses? Is Stark's going to be pissed if he loses? And then what goes on from there? I think is very important to see what's going to happen because like that's really the main story of Collision right now, outside of the BC Gold and FTR stuff. So it's going to be interesting what other kind of stories they're going to be starting up after this week, because I think really this week on Collision could be like the end of a lot of the stories. Same with FTR BCG. Like you would expect, no matter who wins tonight, it's well, I guess if FTR wins, I could see it maybe continuing, because then they would be 1-1, I guess technically, or 2-2
yeah. If you want to
as
count
far as
those
falls
multi-mans,
go.
yeah,
Um, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I kind of want Ricky to win because I think it would be a good catalyst for Punk to turn heel, and I think that's what I want. That's what I think the better story is. Whether that's what AEW thinks is the best story is, I don't know. They might want to keep Jay White as the top heel of the show, and that's totally fine.
yeah. I could see both logics there.
Yeah,
Because I do want to see more Jay White. I'd like to see Jay White and Punk have a full blown
me too.
singles feud.
Me too. I think that's a money
So
feud.
maybe not even Joe. Maybe fucking Jay White costs Punk the match or something. I don't know.
I mean,
Probably
that'd be a
not
lot of
again because, like I
yeah.
said earlier, he's already wrapped up this week.
That
But
would be a lot of Jay White. But I mean, he could just send his
you could
goons to
send
do
the guns out there to do
it.
it.
We're on the same wavelength. We're on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
They could definitely do that.
Yeah,
Just
we can.
go. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say we could go ahead and move into that tag match though, since we
Yeah,
keep
let's do it.
referencing it anyway. But I don't think I really have a lot to say about it because, like, I love the match last week. I think they could even top it this week. It could genuinely be, at the very least, a tag team match of the year contender. I think if
Yep,
match
I
of the
think
year
so too.
contender overall, if it's anything like last week, because last week was insane.
Yeah, when we can talk about that for a little bit, because that was, I think, everybody's match of the week. It was
Hmm.
absolutely insane. Um, Unfortunate circumstances why they got the extra time, but man, they made the most of it. I kind of felt a little bit bad for Joe Punk to have to follow that, because it
Yeah.
was whew, talk about chemistry. First of all, FDR is so good at making everything like matter so much. They were so good at selling, and and even then, it wasn't one of those cases where like FTR are just so good they can bring up anybody. Like White and Juice were fantastic in this match as well. Like I don't want to take anything away from Juice either, because he's really underrated in this feud. I think that because everybody loves Jay White. Jay White's so great, but Juice is awesome, man. Like his tags were great. The finish was great with the like he loves that freaking loaded handful of quarters. Loves that shit. Um, but man, like talk about putting FTR back on the map. Kind of had forgot. It's been a minute since they've had a like tag match everybody's talking about. Not to say that they've been bad, but they've been kind of like colder feuds up until here. So it's been nice to see them having one of their like showcase matches. And I agree with you. The match coming up, whew, it might at 2 out of 3 falls if they gets the time we think it's going to get. It could easily be, like you said, a tag match of the year, at the very least contender. It's going to be hard to top off some of the other stuff, but man, they've got good chemistry, and I'm really interested to see who's going to win. I don't know about you. I think FTR is going to retain ultimately, but I'm curious of what
Yeah, I
you.
do too.
Yeah.
I mean, like I've went through possibility. I'd love to see a title change just because I
Yes.
like Juice and Jay. But at the same time, it would be, I don't know, it almost feel a little weird. I don't think they're a tag team title team
No.
necessarily, and you got to factor in that the Adam Cole MJF stuff, which we
Yeah.
can talk about in a little bit,
That's exactly what I
is
was going
that's
to segue.
they get a tag title shot. They've already announced the date for that tag title shot too. Whoever wins this tournament,
Oh, they have
assuming it's Cole and MJF. Yeah, it's a Collision at the end of the month, I believe, like the 28th or
on
something
Collision, eh?
on Dynamite. Yes,
Yeah.
they did say on Collision because I made a joke about Sammy not being allowed because Andrade's there, so he's losing.
I mean, he's definitely losing regardless. That team is
Yeah,
not losing. No way. Um, and honestly, like you kind of nailed it. I do think like I mentioned it in the chat on the live chat the next day, but if you look at the video game stuff that Adam and MJF were playing, like they were playing against FTR in the game and hit them with their own move and pinned them in the game.
yeah, and that's
So
how they won the tag titles. Which, because you got the game, that means they had to have already edited it because FTR are not the default tag team champions since
they are not.
they won
They are
DLC.
not. So they
I
actually
mean,
went through all
what?
this trouble to do this,
Yeah,
which is hilarious. And brilliant, brilliant marketing too. But yeah, back to the collision match. Like, I do think FTR is losing. I also think one thing we didn't bring up is like, it would be a bit weird to be like, "Hey, Guns, you're a cool tag team. Join our faction, and we're gonna win the tag team champion. The tag, and you have
yeah.
nothing."
My thoughts exactly. I thought about that when they had their first real promo together, and they talked about how they brought in this top tag team, blah blah blah, and then like 2 sentences later, Jay White's like, "By the way, I'm about to win these tag team titles with you."
Like lol troll. Um,
Yeah.
which I think which I get. Like their motivations to win the tag titles are not to be tag champions; it's to piss off FTR. Which makes
Yes.
sense. They don't give a shit about those titles. They just really want to like
And
they want
Jay White too. He also basically said he's like a belt collector. Well, not really a belt collector. He said he just wants gold. He's attracted to gold, so he wants Punk's fake championship too.
I really want that feud.
Yeah.
Really want that feud, and I kind of hope that like it's like something different in that bag, just a troll too.
Yeah, I know.
I know what other belts does Punk have or could have.
Bro, there's like no possibilities I've really thought of that would make any kind of sense for that. And that's why it's so weird. Like they just haven't shown the belt.
It's just yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll have to find out what's in there. I guess
Like
it's
I wonder if it's actually meant to even be some sort of setup to a red herring, basically, or if they just thought the belt in the bag's cool. Like
yeah, I don't know, or it's like I don't know if there's any other like lore Punk has ever done something like this with a belt in a bag. If it's like referencing an old angle or something, because I know he loves that
I mean,
kind of stuff
I
too.
remember when he did his whole like taking the WWE championship and even the ROH one. Like I don't remember if he specifically used a bag like when he was carrying that or anything, but he has history of being kind of an illegitimate champion, but he does have claim of it being legitimate. So like that kind of stuff, yeah, I get it, but I don't remember if the bag's significant at all.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, it would be cool. Either way, like it would be nice for him to have a few other singles feud before jumping into the MJF stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's still a lot of legs to what MJF's doing, anyways, and I don't know. I don't. I think it might put a bit of a like weird taste in people's mouth if he goes like right into championship stuff, which is probably why they're doing the stuff they're doing right now. To be honest, it's like they don't want to have the appearance of him just getting like a rocket pushed like to the moon like the second he gets there. As much as that,
Yeah, that and also I would say just building up Collision in general.
Kind of have to.
But I think, I mean, a good way to do that though would be continuing the MJF Punk feud and it mostly being on Collision. I think
Yeah,
would honestly be better than what they've done so far, even though I really like the shows. But as far as making the show seem like a bigger deal,
yeah, for sure. Um, Before we move on to the others, I think we're getting close to being done with AEW. This is something I want to talk about
yeah.
with Punk. I forgot. Sorry, go ahead. we'll move on. I completely forgot. I lost my train of thought. Sorry about that.
Well, we can move on to the Cole MJF stuff that we kind of
Yeah.
already talked about too, because I thought that whole thing on Dynamite, the segment, the match, that's some of the funniest shit I've seen in a while in wrestling.
It's 2 weeks in a row now of them doing comedy, and it's really working. I don't know if like they knew it was going to be this good, or if they just literally caught lightning in a bottle. But man, these two guys have so much chemistry on screen together. It's crazy. Like they work off really well off each other. Um, I think Cole in this role is really like hitting its stride. He's
I
like
was going to say specifically, I think Cole is coming out of this a lot better than
he
trying to be all
is.
serious like he
He
was with
is.
Jericho.
I don't think that super serious ass kicking babyface Cole is a thing. I just don't.
No, it
And
never has been. He's tried before. Like,
he's smarmy. He's sarcastic. He's like even as a babyface, he should be kind of a bit of a dick. Like it's just he's a cocky guy. It doesn't really make any sense for him to be like righteous and super. I don't know. They tried. This is way better. Even if he stays babyface after this, it's fine. But man, like the bar scene, especially like MJF being ridiculous, and I like that they both hate Tony Schiavone so much that it like brings them closer together, and that Tony Schiavone sells how much he hates both of them when they're together in the ring as well, and he's kind of like a sourpuss. The match, who did they fight? Did they fight Big Bill this week?
Bill and Brian Cage.
That match, man. I know some people are not into comedy matches. This was like the perfect straddling of the line for me as far as what I like as far as comedy spots. Whereas the match is still serious, but there's like a bunch of elements of comedy that work within the match and that pop the crowd so much. Like that match got the crowd going hot the whole time. It was crazy. Like
It's literally the whole point of wrestling to me. It doesn't matter how many or few moves you do. If the crowd's hot like that, it's a good match. Like,
absolutely, it doesn't matter exactly. And they did a lot of technical stuff in that match that was awesome. But dude got a freaking body slam chant and got a body slam over and
they were chanting double clothesline too. Yeah,
the stupidest shit. And those two things, I gotta say, that's MJF, man. And MJF is so underrated at doing this kind of stuff. Like he reminds me a lot of Jericho in the sense that he can get the stupidest, dumbest shit over.
mm-hmm.
Like it can be super, and I like that he kind of takes an old school aspect to it, where he's like, I'm gonna go and take this like thing that was over like 30 years ago that nobody cares about anymore, and I'm gonna make it over again. Ironically, but not really. Like I don't know, it shows like a really deep understanding of the business from his point of view. I find uh, it's really impressive, and I think we're kind of seeing more and more of like kind of like a I guess I don't want to like overstate it, but he's kind of a bit of a genius in the ring for his age, especially like the amount of like how easily he manipulates crowds is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. Like, it's pretty crazy how he's always able to work every crowd just about, whether it's doing his Long Island stuff when he's there, or knowing to do the exact opposite stuff everywhere else. Like, it's so perfect, like at all times. But one thing I did want to bring up too is specifically Cole's part of this is Roddy and Britt's reaction, because apparently he's got two people upset with him that he's spending so much time with MJF now.
Yes. And again, that's going to be an interesting part of the angle, because one side of me thinks they could just be playing along, and Cole is still planning on being like, nah, I know how much of d-bag you are, and I'm gonna get you before you get me kind of thing. But I don't know. They could also be genuinely upset, especially Roddy. Roddy definitely has like a real reason to be upset. He just got back, and Cole's already like, oh, I'm gonna go hang out with this douchebag now, and you'll be fine. I know you just got hurt, and I
Yeah.
should probably be helping you with Joe and stuff, but I'm just gonna go do my own thing, and he'll be fine. No, he's totally nice. Like, so I can see where Roddy's coming from. I can see where some fantasy booking might go with that. Who knows? Like, if other people might be coming back from injury soon, that would be interesting. Um, as far as like so I'll ask you this, and I'll give my own answer as well. Do you think they should stay together past the tournament, and do you think they should win the belts?
Uh, that's a tough one.
Yeah,
I think no, because I think he's just gonna have other. I think Tony already has the rest of like MJF year probably pretty well planned, and I think it'll be good stuff.
yeah,
So I'm thinking no, even though they did kind of, I feel like they did kind of get lightning in a bottle here, where it is working better than they thought. But I would only want to see it stretched maybe like a month longer. Have them maybe lose the title match, which that would be like at the end of this month, like I said, in a couple weeks, and then you've got, assuming they're going to do MJF versus Adam Cole again at one of the All In or All Out pay-per-views,
right.
they could stretch them teaming a little bit more longer after the tag stuff, before doing something to set, because the match does not have to be booked early necessarily, because it's not like that means there's no build. They've been building this for literally months. So I think they could do that and have the match more like not last minute, but announced later officially. But we all know it's leading there anyway.
Yeah,
That's probably all I would actually do. But no, I don't think they should win the titles. I don't think that would help the tag titles mostly. I can't
yeah.
say I would hate it either, though. At the same time, seeing them with the belts.
It's an odd thing because part of me really wants to see it. I want them to stay together a bit longer. I agree with you. They probably shouldn't win the belts because, like, first of all, I don't think you need to put two belts on MJF just as a principle thing. Don't think you need to do that. Yeah, I don't think you need to put all your eggs on one basket. If they did put the belts on them, I would expect them to lose them within like a month, though. But
Yeah, or
like,
even less,
or
honestly.
even
It's like
less. Yeah,
that's a very WWE hasn't done it in a while, but they used to love giving their world title challengers the tag belts for like a very small period of
until like
time.
Raw
Like
or something like that.
done it for decades. Yeah, like at Stone Cold and HBK won the titles at one point. Shawn Michaels and John Cena did. I remember. I think like John Cena and The Miz or some shit once. Yeah, it was ridiculous. I think the John Cena Miz one, they lost him back like right after like the match. It wasn't restarted. A second one was booked right after, and they lost.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's ridiculous stuff.
But yeah, yeah, like it's interesting at the very least to see where it's gonna go. I would like them to stay. I think I agree with you. Like maybe like halfway through August or something like that, and they can kind of like at the very least until the tag match and maybe like a few weeks after that. Because I'm not sure if I really need to see Cole MJF again this soon. Because like we're getting pretty close to all in all out already. Like we're only a month and a half
Yeah,
away. And I'm not. I don't know. It'll be. I don't have. I think you're right that he has MJF's like whole year planned. I just don't know what it's going to be. Like I'm interested to see what because right now because he's doing this, we don't really know who the next challenger for the world title is, right?
I think it'll still be Punk, honestly, but I think they'll stretch this a little bit so that doesn't feel too soon. You know,
Okay.
like we were talking about earlier.
So I'll ask you this then: do you think they're going to do MJF Punk at All In or All Out?
The fantasy booking I've heard by like a lot of people that does make the most sense is you do Cole MJF at All In London, and then you do the Punk MJF match at All Out in Chicago because it'd be Chicago.
Man,
But I don't think I would do it that soon. I think I would do something else, but I don't know what for both of them at All Out. And I think Punk has plenty of possibilities for All In. I'm not really worried about
yeah,
that. They
yeah,
could
yeah.
even just do a Joe match or something again on a bigger stage. But I don't know what either Punk or MJF technically do for All Out.
Yeah, I would unless they like somehow do some really smart build up booking. Like, I don't think you can really build up two world title programs like back to back within 1 week, and especially with MJF's character be like, "Lol, no, I'm not going to defend my belt 2 weeks in a row." Like,
Yeah.
why would I do
I
that?
think they're kind of doing that already though, with Punk making the references he has with his own title on Collision.
Yeah,
I think that's them trying to lay seeds so when they do go into it more full steam, everyone it doesn't seem as rushed.
yeah, that makes sense. I also think you don't need to have a world title match at all. Then you really don't.
No, not at all. They've already sold 70,000 tickets.
Yeah.
I think MJF should be on the card, but
Yes.
there's plenty of things they could do instead.
They could do like a
Um,
4-way. If they really want to do a title match, I would do like a 4-way kind of thing, and then that way at least
yeah,
like everybody in because man, like just the logistics of having two title matches 1 week after the other, like from a performer's point of view, that's a lot to prepare for. That's a lot to think of. It's a lot to plan for. And as I know, as good as MJF is, I don't know if I want to put him in that position. I don't know if that's
and there's
fair.
TV in between. I mean, I know you
Yeah,
don't want
you're
wrestling on
right.
the TV in between, but you got to do something. Like,
And what if there's flight delays and stuff like that when like on the Monday? Like
yeah,
man, like that's a lot of that's a lot of shit that can go wrong.
yeah, yeah,
Or
I
like, what
agree.
if MGF gets hurt on the at All In, then he has to defend a week later? Then your whole plans are screwed. Like I think that's a bad idea. I would like that's one thing I'd be scared to book Punk on those two pay-per-views as well, either in singles matches. I would not do that. It's too risky. You gotta like bubble wrap your guys a little bit. So, but at the same time, Punk's looking pretty solid right now. He doesn't really look like he's fragile or anything. He's having some pretty hard matches. He's looking good. So I'm not too worried about his health right now.
Yeah.
See, I'm just gonna take a look at my notes and see if there was anything else from AEW.
The only other thing I had was we could talk about the Nick Wayne
Oh,
debut.
Nick
I
Wayne.
don't have a lot. I mean, I just thought it was really good. I've definitely seen better matches from those two together. But it's not they didn't get like a ton of time. Like I've seen him go 30 minutes before,
Yeah,
so I wasn't expecting that obviously. But I thought he looked great. The whole presentation, the theme song. I
the
I'll
video
shoot this too,
package.
but yeah, that video package was great. Did you think he should have won? Because apparently a
No,
lot of people did. I'm
no,
like, what?
no, not even no. That's not at all. It would have been
Yeah,
cool if he did, but I think it would have been the wrong. No, it didn't make any sense for him to win. And
like,
Swerve
granted,
can't
like a lot
lose.
of this is coming from like Meltzer and Alvarez, and they're not even like they're not mad he lost. They just wanted him to win, but they're as biased as you can be
I mean,
as far as their relationship with
Buddy
Nick and
Wayne
Buddy
trained
Wayne. Yeah,
Alvarez. Like, of
yeah,
course
and
they
he used to do
wanted to win.
podcasts for like decades on the site with them.
Oh,
You
there you
know,
go. I didn't even know that
yeah,
part. So yeah, of course.
yeah. So
That's
like,
fine. You can be a
they're
marketer not
biased,
to win.
but I've seen other people like on Twitter like act like he's bare. You know, they do that anytime anyone loses. But I'm like,
People who are
this
saying
is
is
as
buried. I'm sorry, you've
obtuse
probably
as
never
you
even
can
watched him
be.
wrestle.
Like,
He's 18 years old. Did people expect like Billy Starks to beat Athena? Come on, no,
yeah,
not happening.
yeah,
And that's
like
okay. It's okay. It's okay to have competitive matches and lose. I say that for like everybody. Like,
it's
stop
Swerve
thinking.
needed the win
Oh my
anyway.
god, yeah.
I think it would have hurt Swerve a lot more,
He
like because
just
he's been
lost a
losing
ton of.
quite a bit.
He lost to Tanahashi, and he lost in a three-way match on Collision or something like, or not Collision, but ROH or something like that. At one point,
Oh, it
he
was
lost.
Rampage. I'm pretty
Rampage.
sure,
There you go.
and he lost to OC for the title.
And he lost to
You
OC.
know,
He needs to win, man. If you're gonna take
yeah,
this guy seriously, you kind of he can't. If you want a guy to be taken seriously, you can't have him lose clean to a brand new 18-year-old dude that's just been introduced. And also another good point I had heard is like get Nick Wayne's loss out of the way. You
yeah.
don't.
You don't want to deal with that nonsense.
No. That's stupid. Like he's not that kind of talent that you need to build him up to be invincible. The story with Nick Wayne is that he's Buddy Wayne's son. He's a very good wrestler, and he's a prodigy, but he's also 18 years old. That's part of the
I thought
story.
they sold his. I wouldn't say inexperience because that's kind of absurd considering he's been wrestling so long already. But I guess I like debut TV jitters. Like he was taunting at one point and Swerve hit him, and the announcers were like, "Yeah, he's still young, you know." And like I don't mind that shit. He didn't look like stupid or anything
No,
necessarily. So,
But I mean, he's still this is a kid looking at the bright lights for the first time. That's a perfectly
yeah, and I
reasonable
mean
angle.
that's the thing too. He still looks like a kid, as good as he is in the ring. His ring work, and he's definitely gotten a lot like more like filled out like muscle wise than when I first seen him. But he still looks young and small.
He's a
Like
baby. Like
yeah.
he looks like a little
I mean,
baby
he
still.
still
It's
fucking
okay.
has acne, honestly. Like,
Oh yeah, he's
uh,
I think like even he looks younger and he is younger, but like he looks a lot younger
yeah.
than Billy Starks, for
That's what
example.
I just think the visual of him beating Swerve would have looked bad on Swerve in the long run,
Yes.
and no one's gonna care that he lost his debut after a couple weeks. I mean, we'll have to see how it's followed up on, which I think he'll get some wins on like a Rampage or whatever, and that's fine. They should do tag matches with like Darby or something. I think that'd be awesome.
That'd be great. Yeah. They can do like Darby.
Someone said, do Darby and Sting and Nick as a trios.
I mean, that sounds awesome. I'm all for that. I'm not sure if Sting is
Yeah.
going to be doing much for a little bit though. I think he's banged
No,
up.
God.
He that table spot was rough. But yeah, no, I love the Nick Wayne stuff. I thought it was perfectly booked. I think it was the right move. Swerve looked great. I also like that Swerve didn't win with the Swerve Stomp because I don't like that move.
No, I like it as a setup. I don't like it as a finish, though.
I was listening to another podcast and they brought up a really good point, and now I can't unsee it, and I'll never be able to unsee it. The problem with the Swerve Stomp is that the guy has to sit up and look at you the entire time you climb up the
Yeah.
rope, and then half the time he misses you completely. So it's I think it's a cool-ish move, but I think his other moves honestly are much cooler anyways. The I forget what the kick is called, but the kick is awesome. It's like my favorite move he does, like the weird like jumping
Yeah, I like
flying
that one
kick.
too.
That should be his finisher personally. I think it looks like it kills you
I'm pretty
anyways.
sure that does have some cool name, but I can't think of it either.
I don't remember. They mentioned it on the podcast. It's skipping my mind right now. But his other move is fine too. Like I guess it's like a variation of Made in Japan kind of
Yeah,
thing.
it's the JML driver.
JML driver. Yeah, I like that move a lot. Like I would switch it around though. I would have that as the setup to the kick, and then the
Yeah,
kick
that
would
would
be
actually be
finished.
okay.
But I'm just a mark for the kick. I think it look, especially the way like some people sell it. It just looks like it absolutely like kicks your head right off. And I'm a big fan of kick finishers, anyways. I don't think people use them enough. So.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, all in all, like it's just really solid Dynamite this week, in my opinion. There was also like we'll talk about it near the end of the show, but the Jericho Commander match I thought really delivered
Yeah.
as well. I thought that was a great match for Jericho. Let's see what else we got. I guess why don't you talk about your Wrestling Revolver show that you were at and get that out of the way as well.
Yeah, that sounds good. Because I don't have a lot, but that's the first Revolver show I've ever been to. Obviously, it's the first time they've ever came to Texas. And they were doing they were using talent. It was like partially together with a local company here who I'd never heard of before, but they actually run pretty close to me. And I'm going to start keeping an eye out. They do shows every Saturday apparently, probably about an hour from me. They're called Metroplex Wrestling, I believe. That'd be like the Dallas for Metroplex. They don't have any local, like their own talent that I really recognize, but they're constantly bringing in other talent, it seems. Like they have Nyla Rose is fighting Burt Vixen tonight in like an Extreme Rules match is one. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going.
Nice. That's nice.
If that was any other weekend, I would definitely try to make that one.
Yeah,
But the show was cool. Good. So match of the night was it's a tough one. You had what's his name? Zachary Wentz and Alex Shelley had a really good match for the Revolver Remix title.
The remix one, yeah. That's the way you they think the champion chooses the stip. I think
Maybe I don't think there was any special stip though.
Okay,
I don't know. But Shelley retained. He was doing all his heel stuff. It was great. And then the main event was Speedball versus JD Griffey in a Blitzkrieg match. Basically, it was a no ropes pit fight. They wanted it to be called to avoid lawsuits, but and yeah, that was crazy. They were just. I was really curious how the crowd was going to react because that was a very, I don't know the best way to put this. Mark crowd, I would say, not very smarky. It didn't seem like it seemed like it was very much the local Metroplex wrestling crowds, like
Okay.
whoever goes to those shows weekly, that they didn't, but they don't seem like they weren't as into like the people I was into that I knew from the indies, but they fucking love the Metroplex guys that I'd never
Their
heard
own
of in
guys.
my
Okay.
life.
Okay. Yeah. 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 That
Yeah,
makes sense.
and so I wasn't sure how they were going to react to that pit fight because it was, it was blood sport. How they worked that way different from wrestling, but it was awesome. They were going crazy for submission spots, big strikes, like really cool. What else was on the show? Sammy Callahan and Ali Catch brawled across this whole basically fitness center that we were in with basketball goals and stuff. And they had like a what they call it, a Texas street fight. Allie Catch's mom was there, and Allie
Ali
used her
won, didn't she?
yes, and Allie used her mom's prosthetic leg as a weapon.
Oh my god.
Like,
Oh, I love wrestling.
yeah, it was just solid stuff up and down. That they had a couple showcases with the Metroplex guys. Lance Archer fought one of what he revealed after was one of his first students he had. Some dude
Oh.
doing like a almost like a Peter Avalon, pretty Peter Avalon style gimmick, kind of that
Okay.
kind
Cool.
of campy stuff. And Archer actually gave him a lot. I thought he was going to squash him, and he did for a lot of the match. But that was cool. ABC defended against more local guys that were super over with that live crowd, almost to the extent that it annoyed me. But it was awesome seeing the Impact guys, especially ABC, Wentz, Shelly. Like I've never seen Shelly live. That was probably the best part of the show to me was just seeing Shelly work live.
Yeah,
If I'd pick one
he's
thing.
a pretty special talent. I can assume that he was really fun to watch live. Like his facial expressions, just the he's just so solid at everything. Like he
Hmm.
knows exactly what he and it's crazy to me that he's almost like hitting his stride now.
Yeah,
Like all these years later, even though he was one of the best guys on the Indies and in Impact for a long time, always had the talent, but like I don't know what
and he
he clicked last
retired.
year.
Like,
Yeah, he
he straight
did.
up
You're right.
retired. Now he's having the best freaking hit. There was a video package. We'll move into Slammiversary after this because it's
Yeah.
a good segue. But there was a video package for Shelly and Aldis this week on Impact. I think they may have even shown it the week before. It may have been a replay of it, but it's so good. And they'll replay it tonight too, I'm sure. But it tells both their history of Aldis and Shelly, not together, but their history in wrestling so well. And Shelly is cutting this promo about how he was content with his role in wrestling, and basically, more or less, like he saw these guys that he had at least played a part in training break out and doing all the shit that he taught them and everything. He's like, basically, like, why the fuck can't I still do this? So
Yeah.
I decided I was going to go do it.
And then he
And
did.
like, yeah, he did. And I really, well, let's talk about the main event first. It's Slammy because I don't know what to expect. Like it kind of feels like Shelly is a transitional champion for Aldis, and it definitely worked out. Like unfortunately, because Macklin did end up getting hurt
Yeah.
after Shelly won the belt, so they would have had to do some alternative anyway. But I don't know. He might win, and I actually have the betting odds pulled up now, and they're perfectly split 50-50.
Really?
They don't.
That's
Yeah.
shocking, actually. I would have expected all this to be a heavy, heavy favorite.
Hmm.
At least
I'm
it's
thinking the
funny.
only thing is like because Shelly just won it, but and you don't have those really classic transitional reigns anymore, which is what this would be like your very classic. They want heel Aldis, so they give it to a hot baby face for a month and for Aldis to win. That's not booked anymore, like at all. And that's what this would be. And I'd be fine with it. I kind of expected it from the start, but I mean, I'm going to be cheering for Shelly, like straight mark.
Yeah, for
I've
sure.
got to be
I am
cheering for
too.
him. Like,
I am too.
just like I did against Macklin when I thought he had 0% chance of
Zero.
winning.
Zero.
Like, I don't think
Man,
I've been that surprised by a result in quite a while. Like, one that I was at least that into as well, you know?
like in hindsight, what good booking that was, especially with Macklin getting injured. Like,
Yeah.
man, that would have been a huge, huge bummer if Impact had to like drop the belt from their champion due to injury twice in a row. That would
Yeah.
have
And
right.
those
Oh man,
two, like, but you got to like butterfly effect because he actually got injured in a rematch against Shelley in the Australian tour. So it also could have played out differently. Who knows? Like,
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But man, like, yeah, I'm hoping Shelley takes it home. But we can talk about the reasons why he might not and why he might. Um, yeah, like it's funny, right? So first of all, when Macklin was champion, and they announced that like it was pretty much a foregone conclusion that it was going to be Aldis at Slammiversary.
mhm.
Before we knew Shelley what was going to win, I was giving Macklin zero chance to win that one. I was like, this 100% sure
Yes.
they're putting the belt on Aldis. It's super obvious. It's exactly what they're doing. Cool. Now, I don't know. For the points you brought up, I'm not sure if they're going to actually have Shelley lose that quickly. If they do, that's fine. No big deal.
And I can't say like for certainty, like online, like seeing like actual metrics, and their ratings are so up and down anyway. Like they'll be up from last year 1 week, down the next, stuff like that. But I just feel like I've seen way more buzz for Impact in like my wrestling Twitter, timeline than for in a while
I
since
would say that's
Shelly
accurate.
won, because
I would
everyone
say
was
that's
just
accurate.
marking the fuck out. They were like, "What? Shelly won?" Like, I mean, even on the site, people were popping into Impact chats like, "What the hell? Alex Shelley's champion?" Like, and they're so happy about it. If they haven't watched him in years.
Yeah, like people who like we know very well on the site on the forum that we know they haven't watched or cared about Impact in like 5 years
In
at
some
least,
cases, a decade.
or maybe they don't even
Yeah.
they've never even cared about Impact in the first place. But the second they heard that Shelley won the belt, like, okay, though that's cool though. I like that.
Mhm. It's really
Nobody
cool
was upset with
savings there
this.
too with the X Division title.
Yeah,
Like, really, like I don't know, like that's such a like a Mark fantasy booking thing to do, and it almost never happens in wrestling. And maybe it should happen more
maybe it
because
should.
this is
Yeah,
so cool. It's
and
the
then
stuff you see in like Be the Bookers though, and stuff like for real, like just these little cool stories that just never happen in real life. And you think, oh, maybe there's a reason, but what the fuck's the reason? Do you see how awesome this is with Impact? Like,
just sometimes giving the people what they want is a okay. And I think places like AEW and Impact too, like I think lately as well has been really good at doing that.
I think Impact does it the best, honestly, out of anyone. Besides, I mean, like, I say most indie companies are pretty good at it, the small ones,
Yes,
because that's all you got to give that live crowd what they want. You want them to leave happy. But Impact probably does it the best of any of the televised
they
companies.
do. Yeah, and like it used to be jarring to a lot of people because especially in the past, like WWE would go out of their ways to not give people what they want, or
And TNA too, back
and
when
TNA as
let's
well.
separate
Yeah,
it from TNA to Impact. It was like the thing, heat, heat, heat. Like
for sure. And I think that's a good thing that I'm very happy to see in mainstream wrestling. Like the last few years, is that like companies are not afraid to just like book baby faces to win and
yeah,
book baby faces to be strong, and it's okay without fuckery. Like it's cool. Like and as far as the results go, we'll get back to that. Like there's a few reasons why I'm not sure what's gonna happen. Um, all this stuff, for example, like kind of leading to another match. Like I could see them doing a thing where like he wins and then Mickey comes back as well. They do kind of like a power couple reigning over Impact kind of thing as heels. That could be a reason. Another reason why I think Aldis might win. I'm not sure exactly what the heck you do with him if he loses. He
yeah.
already turned
There's
heel, so
yeah. I mean, they could stick him in a tag team for a little bit or something like that. But I agree. Like, um, I think you need to give Aldis the belt now for his own perception, and it won't hurt Shelley, obviously. Um, so as much as I want Shelley to win, I think the better booking is Aldis.
it's
It's not
easier.
going to make me cheer for it though.
No,
But
no,
I
no.
do. Well, it's kind of weird too, because at the same time, I think Shelley still has more challengers they could line up for him that are heels, where they don't have as many faces. Well, they do have faces for Aldis to beat. I shouldn't say that. They don't have believable faces to beat Aldis, but I guess that would be fine for especially early on in his reign while they're building
Well,
up other people.
how far away is Josh from coming back?
I
Oh,
think
it's still
a
pretty far.
tricep like 9 months, and it happened in April. So
Oh
yeah,
shit, man! I
maybe
felt like
March.
I felt like it had been longer than that. But if it's only March or April, he's
Yeah,
not really. Probably not looking at the end of the year at the earliest. Then
yeah, and we can move on to this match too, since you mentioned Josh. But I'd heard some people say like, oh, maybe he could be Scott D'Amore's mystery partner. Well, would fucking
Not a
love
chance.
that, but I
Not a
just
chance.
yeah.
Not a chance.
But it does seem like the general consensus is that mystery partner is going to be a returning Eric Young, which that's going to be great. That's true.
I have no idea how it's happening because like we talked about this before the show. Like some of the dirt sheet guys are like swear like the Sean Ross Sapp specifically. I watched him yesterday, and so I'll preface this to see what because how it went down. I was watching another podcast where they had Derek McCarthy or whatever his name is, the hockey guy from the Red Wings that's in the angle, and he was going on and on about EY and hinting at EY and saying EY was his favorite wrestler. And then later in the stream, once that interview was done, Sean Ross Sapp came into the stream, and the guy who was interviewing was like asking Sean, like, "Can I print this?" Basically, like, "Can I write this story about this guy thinking it's going to be EY?" And then Sean was seen very like flat no, basically like he says. I think his words were sub 0%. Which like seems very certain. But then you're saying that you see a bunch of other stuff online, so
Apparently, people saw him in Detroit. So at
people
the
saw
we
him in
should say
Detroit.
too, since people may not watch Impact, they probably don't. The match is it was originally going to be Bully Ray and Steve Macklin versus Scott D'Amore and PCO, but Macklin got legitimately hurt. PCO got rode out by being set on fire.
Yes, amongst
So
other things.
Diener replaced Macklin, which is kind of eh. I did like the way they did it. The Diener actually had a pretty good promo on Busted Open, which they replayed on Impact, thankfully, so I didn't have to watch Busted Open. But and so now, but Diener has all that history with EY, which makes a lot of sense. And the tease, have you seen the tease they actually did? It was the very
No, I
closing
haven't seen
segment
him.
of Impact.
Unfortunately, I didn't watch Impact this week.
Yeah. So what it was Scott D'Amore. He was on the phone with someone. He was like, "So PCO can't come back to the dead, can't come back from the dead, but can you?" And I mean, they killed off EY, and then so then it pans, and you see like a Team Canada jersey. Also, the group EY was in with D'Amore. So like, it's basically like there's other options for former Team Canada members. There's other options for people that Impact has killed off because they've done that quite a bit. But who is both? So
I think only. I mean, I'm obviously nowhere near the expert for Impact lore. Like somebody like Sky might be able to answer better, but I don't think there's really anybody that fits both.
no, yeah. So and like I discussed too, my theory about how it could maybe work is that maybe something happened with EY going back to WWE, like what the same deal with Colby Carino that
Yeah,
Colby Carino like went into detail about, like explaining all of that. But it all made like perfect sense. I doubt he's BSing or anything. It was all very like logical stuff. So maybe with the merger, he was never officially on, but they were like, "Yeah, we'll bring you," and then they were like, "No, sorry, it's not going to happen." And so now he's free or something like that.
it's possible. And on top of that, like to add to that, like I believe the heavy rumors at the time was that he was being brought in to work with Bray. And
I heard
Bray is apparently like the latest update is that he's still extremely sick and he's not nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
No one knows his status. He's sick. He's off, which is as a side note super concerning. And I hope he's okay.
Yeah, I know.
That's very I don't know what to think about that. Like it makes me think. I'm not going to speculate on air because that's not cool. But like it could be a lot of things that are pretty bad, and I really genuinely hope that like as a person he's okay because like whatever you think about his booking, like still like don't want to hear that ever about somebody having to retire or having to like not be in the ring because of a serious illness. That's scary. So I hope we do see him again one day. But back to the EY stuff. I mean, like where there's smoke, there's fire, right? Like that all sounds like. And if they don't do that, like, are people going to be mad that they kind of like fucked around with him? And if it's not EY and they did that, it better be somebody cool.
Yeah, and that's why I trust Impact for those kinds of reveals because they could do EY or like not whatever. They could do someone else, and if it still somehow makes sense with that promo and that wasn't ever meant to lead to EY, I mean, I would forgive it because
right.
But I just don't know who else it could be.
It has to make sense.
You got to factor in the history of with Diener. Like, it's so much.
The only other person that has history with Diener would be what, like Jake something?
Joe
But yeah,
Doring, too, but I
Joe Dort.
mean,
Joe
he's
Dort,
out with his cancer too. But I
but he
don't know. I
wasn't.
don't know the timeline there. It's been a little bit,
And Daring
but
was
you
never
just
in
never
Team
know with that
Canada.
stuff.
I guess neither was Jake
Yeah,
something though. Jake something is not
yeah,
Canadian.
yeah. Too. Neither of them are Canadians, so.
Like who was in Team Canada other than like that's relevant?
Okay, I did look up a list. One person that would actually be free, that would be hilarious, and he's also not Canadian, but he was in Team Canada, is fucking Jack Evans.
Your favorite.
Like,
I mean, like
I
that'd be.
forgot he was even in that group.
I would not do that for multiple reasons, but that would be funny. I would. I don't know if they would even get a good match out of it. I haven't seen a good match out of that kid.
Okay, I did just look it up though. Here's the report for EY. It's from PWI Insider.
Okay, thank you.
He was spotted this afternoon at a Detroit airport, leading credence to the theory proposed earlier that he could be Scott D'Amore's mystery partner. So
That's all it says.
that's from
though, right?
PWI.
Okay,
Yes,
interesting.
or so that's all the Twitter's aggregating at least,
Okay, fair
because it's
enough.
behind
Yeah.
their paywall. They're putting it in quotes, so that is exactly what was said. I just don't know if there was any more.
Yeah, that is interesting. I mean, I would love it if Sean Ross Sapp was wrong. Not because I don't like the guy, just because like I am a big fan of the dirt sheets getting worked once in a while.
Yeah, and he's got a point himself too, because like I threw out my theory of it could be a Colby Carino situation, but also I thought I'd read he was already backstage producing matches, which would completely nullify that. Like that would mean he is hired, but
Exactly.
I don't know. I don't. Yeah,
Unless for some whatever reason, like maybe they cashed in their favor for Mickey James.
yeah,
And then they were like a one-off, like we really need someone, and then you can have him back, and he's a producer at your place, so it's not like he's like taking a talent spot.
that would actually be a really cool one-off to do. He could wrap up his story with Diener, and yeah, I would actually be really cool with that.
I mean, it's very unlikely that that would happen, but I mean, I think that would be like such a good look for everybody too.
You know what I just realized too? They always do a Hall of Fame for Slammiversary, and they didn't this year. It's always just like one person.
Oh, interesting.
But yeah, no Hall of Fame this year. I mean,
I wonder why they didn't do that.
I don't know.
That is maybe they'll do it for another event. Maybe they'll do it closer to the end of the year instead. Maybe they just change.
Yeah, or maybe I'm off. Maybe it's Bound for Glory they do it at now. I know they used to be Slammiversary, but maybe they've changed it. I can't remember.
BFG's at the end of the year, right? That make more sense. Yeah, that makes more sense. You know what? I think it was BFG last year because I do remember it being more around Halloween and shit like that.
So. Yeah, that's probably I think the last few years it actually has been BFG, and that's technically their flagship show. Even though I feel like Slammiversary has been that more often.
Slammiversary is usually like the throwback retro show. Like that's what it was that one year, I think. Right? That was the year.
That was for 20 years specifically.
Yeah.
To celebrate cool 20 years, but yeah, it's like 21 years now. That was last year. I don't think they'll go that hard with the nostalgia necessarily.
What other matches we got on Slammy?
We can just run through them real quick. We don't have to talk about them too much because I think it's going to be a good card. So pre-show is going to be Joe Hendry defending against Kenny King, Stripper Kenny, as Joe Hendry has now forced everyone to call him. And there's Jody Threat teaming with the Death Dolls against, according to Wikipedia, what is officially called the Shaw Tourage of Giselle Shaw, Savannah Evans, and Jay Vidal. I can't say any of their names. Jesus. Pay-per-view is going to have Ultimate X match. That's number one contenders, not for the title, with Jonathan Gresham, Mike Bailey, Kevin Knight, Alan Angels, and Kushida.
So we can talk about that one at least for like a few seconds, because that one I think is one of the more interesting matches of the night. I think my gut tells me it's going to be Gresham. I don't know.
I could see that. I'm assuming the winner will face Saban. I don't think Leo Rush is going to beat Saban. That's the X Division title.
Me
match. Neither. And I would love to watch Saban. Gresham sounds great. Bailey obviously would be fine too, but I don't know that he needs to be pushed back in that X Division, title picture. Kevin Knight's probably not winning. Even though that would be fine. Alan Angels definitely isn't winning. And I don't think Kushida. I don't think putting Kushida in the X Division title picture when he was just in the world title picture makes that much sense.
No, I mean it would be cool if he fought Saban just because they have like history, like kind of like with time splitters and all
Yeah.
that weird stuff. But
You know what would be fucking awesome is if since Kushida's there, he doesn't win this match. Shelly wins, but then Kushida attacks him afterwards and
see, that'd
breaks
be
up the
great.
time splitters. Completes that heel turn I've been expecting that I haven't heard anything else about of since that tournament.
Seriously, yeah, that could be interesting. I mean, and I could see Aldis winning and Saban cashing in on him too. But at the same time, I'm not sure if they should do that cash in stuff this year because they already did it not that long ago, so it might not be a
I get
great
over
idea.
that, yeah.
Yeah. So, well, what's after that?
So you got Eddie Edwards and Frankie Kazarian having their
Oh yeah,
third match recently with both wives at ringside now because Tracy Brooks is gonna come in since
who
I think
is
she lives around there anyway.
is she
So
a
that's
worker
easy.
or something?
She used to be, yeah. She was one of the first women's people signed with Impact, so she's got a lot of
Okay.
history there.
Okay.
She
Cool.
managed Bobby Roode for a while.
Oh, okay. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. The Coven is defending the tag titles and most likely losing against Killer Kelly and Masha Slamovich.
This team, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be shocked if they don't win the titles.
Man, they know exactly what they are doing with that tag team. It's getting a lot of good. It's getting a lot of hype online. Like they keep posting pictures and they're getting a lot of engagement on
Had to
Flying Kitty.
reposition my cat.
Yeah, they've been from what I've seen, they've been getting a lot of engagement. Specific, I mean, we all know why there, but it's cool. And yeah, I mean, if they lose that title match, I don't know what Scott D'Amore is thinking. Like the Coven, I don't.
It's so weird, yeah.
I think the Coven sucks. I'll just say it. I don't. I don't get that act at all.
I haven't been a fan really since the start.
Like
so.
they're not clicking in the ring. I don't like their promos. The only good thing to come out of them is that they forced Rosemary and Havoc to like change their gimmicks to something different.
And it gave Kylan King an in. Not that she needed one necessarily. I think she could have been brought in a different way, but very featured at least for Kylan.
Really even
though I feel she's way out of place. But.
Yeah, it's not a good role for her, but at the very least, she's getting TV time. She got a title. I can't complain about that. I think it's just time to break that stuff up though. Like
our men's tag team match though, which I'm actually really excited for, is Ace Austin and Chris Bay ABC defending against Brian Myers and Moose, Rich Swann, Sammy Callahan, and Subculture, which is Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster. Predicting that they still retain here, but that's very open. So
it is. I mean, they've been champ for what I feel has been forever.
Yeah, it's been a good minute now.
So I'm not sure if they're gonna. It's hard to tell. It's wide open, but I also don't necessarily see a team in here that are championship worthy, other than maybe Subculture, which would be my choice of winning to dethrone. Maybe Swan and Callahan, but I feel like Callahan like loses a lot these days.
Yeah, he does. He almost never wins anymore.
Yeah, so I don't really see that push happening. I mean, the only other thing I could see, and I would personally mark for it, I don't think a lot of people would, but like I would love Moose and Brian Myers to win because
I love that tag team. Honestly, they've been really good together.
They have, and I like both of those guys a lot. I'd love to see Brian Myers win a title in Impact. That'd be amazing. Whether
he was digital media champion for a little while actually. So,
okay.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not sure.
I don't think him and Cardona ever won the tags, though.
I don't believe they did
because they could never lock down Cardona, so they never wanted to give it to him.
Yeah, but I mean, I'd be fine with it. What the percentage of that happening? Probably pretty low. I think the highest percentage is you're right. Like ABC's just going to retain.
Makes the most sense going forward to me, unless they just got something out there planned.
Yeah.
The last match we haven't talked about yet, which is also one of the bigger ones, is Deonna Purrazzo defending the Knockouts title against Trinity.
That one is
Mercedes in the building, apparently. But that's not really surprising to me. Everyone's making a big deal about that, but
yeah, I mean, I've seen people make a big deal about it. I've also seen people like dismiss it like it was nothing. I mean, I think it's just news. She's going to be there.
I think it's very cool for Impact that other wrestlers want to attend their shows, though.
Yes, I think that's good, and I think Mercedes being there gives it some legitimacy. It doesn't matter if she's not on the show. She's not going to.
Yeah, I don't like. She probably shouldn't be on screen. If I was Impact, I'd probably try to get her on screen. But
yeah, of course.
But also, I kind of almost feel like it spoils Trinity's winning, which I'm actually not. I'm not really looking forward to that. That's what happens.
See, I feel completely different. I don't think she has any chance of winning at all.
Really?
No, I really don't think. And I've said that from the beginning. I know like some other people on the website have been like moaning that this is going to happen. But
I don't think she should, but I don't know. I'm not confident. That's back now.
uh, yeah, I don't know. I personally think that Deanna's run is just going to keep going. I really don't see her losing. I think she's going to keep the title until Mickey comes back.
Yeah, that's been my preference for a little while.
I mean, if Trinity wins, sure. I'm not going to be upset or anything. I like Trinity.
Yeah, I like her fine. I've been a little underwhelmed by like a couple of her matches. She looked really good in some, but it's definitely not good enough to throw the title on her already. In
I
my opinion.
agree with you. I didn't want to be rude, but she is not a championship ready performer in between the rows right now. I'm not saying she
Which is
can't
funny
be
because she's a multi-time WWE Women's Champion.
in an era where the wrestling wasn't as good, in my opinion.
No, it was actually when it was good. It was
Really?
after all the people got brought up. It was after that brand split in like 2016. So the rosters were a little
Okay.
thinner on both companies. She won like the SmackDown one twice, but she was beating like Becky and Alexa and all that.
Right. Oh, yeah, you're right. I guess I
Yeah.
was watching back then.
I like the reigns. She had just really cooled down by the time I started watching again, so I missed them live. But
There's
I
the
did think
glow
she
ring.
did good. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I legitimately forgot about all that. I was actually watching at the time too.
Yeah.
Um,
Before the era you're thinking of, before like the women's revolution or whatever, she was there. She didn't wrestle much herself.
okay.
Uh, but she was like the amount she's improved since then is insane.
Yes. I think also it could also be just a case of like she's still not really used to working matches that are not WWE produced. WWE produces their matches a very specific way, and
Hmm.
they put their matches together also a specific way.
Yeah. And she was
Which is
just out so long. I think that's most of it because she's looked better
yeah,
recently. So,
you there, and I'm not a wrestler, but from everything I've heard, there's a big difference between regular cardio and in-ring cardio, and you can't really like train in-ring cardio without being in the ring and having matches.
yeah.
It's like the only way you can do it. So
Hmm.
it doesn't surprise me. I don't think she needs the belt. I think it's too early, especially if she's sticking around for a little bit. I don't think she needs it, and I think like they could set up some other stuff. I personally think she should keep feuding with Giselle. I actually like that feud.
I would too. I really like that match against Jay Vidal.
Yeah, there's like I don't know. Like I think that feud makes more sense. I'd like to see her in the tag division. I think that
Hmm.
also would make
I
more
said that too.
sense.
Yeah.
I know that's kind of like cliche because that's what she was in WWE, but I do
Yeah.
think that I, and I really do think that I would have paired her with what is she still around? What's her name?
Tasha. That was who
Tasha.
I
Yeah,
suggested.
yeah,
Yeah,
and I know.
I thought they were both from Atlanta until it was pointed out that Tasha was from New Jersey, and I was thinking of Kiera being from Atlanta.
Yeah,
But
yeah, she was. Yeah, but and I know what people are going to say about that
but
tag
I don't know
team.
where Tasha is. She did make her return, but she's missed the last couple tapings, so that's kind of odd to me. I was wondering about her.
Maybe they don't have like an angle for her, or maybe she might be a little bit banged up. Never know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that pretty much is the whole show. I think it's going to be a really hype show. Uh,
Hmm.
from my point of view, the last like five, I say it every time, the last 5, 6, 7 Impact pay-per-views or events, special events I've watched, they don't miss. The in-ring's always good. The storytelling's always good. There's usually something for everybody on those shows as
They
well.
get the most out of everyone, is
Yep,
what I would say.
that's what Impact
Like
does.
their cards may not look the strongest, but if they do look strong, you better be sure you watch because it's
Yeah,
about to
like
be,
the last pay-per-view was
something crazy.
stacked.
Yeah.
But it's
But
going to be a great show.
yeah, so we can move on to our new segment that we're gonna try and do a little weekly here. We haven't came up with a creative name yet, but basically we'll both name one kind of under the radar match or segment that we watched for the
Yes.
week that we want to bring more attention to. And mine's Impact related, so I'll go first with mine since we're already on Impact. But I want to shout out the Kevin Knight Speedball Mike Bailey match from Impact Television this week on Thursday. That was crazy. That's the best I've seen Kevin Knight look, and I've seen Kevin Knight look really freaking good. The crowd, the announcers, everyone was going crazy about it. It was just insane, kind of a spot fest, but still like working a good, clean, crisp match. Like definitely, there was nothing sloppy, which is kind of crazy when you have someone like Kevin Knight in there who's so athletic. I feel like sometimes his opponents don't. adapt to it that well because he's so much more athletic than a lot of other wrestlers. So they end up like they'll overcompensate on something, or they'll just the timing will just be a little off.
Yeah, that sounds like a great match. I unfortunately haven't checked it out yet because like I said earlier, I haven't gotten a chance to caught up to Impact Weekly, but that's awesome. I mean, it doesn't surprise me in the sense that it was Mike Bailey because Mike Bailey is just this year especially is just on fire. He's not really having bad matches, but it's really nice to see Kevin Knight and him had really good chemistry. They're both in the X match as well, right, on the pay per view. So that's
Yep.
great as well. That leads credence that the match is going to be really good. For myself, it was a match that I actually had zero interest in going in. It was Jericho against Commander on Dynamite. I at first thought it was first of all I thought it was going to be a throwaway match. I thought it was going to be like 5 minutes and it was going to be whatever. It ended up being really really good. And like Chris brought up that while we were watching it, that it kind of like reminded him of the old school matches that Jericho used to do in WCW when he was a heavyweight, but wrestling cruiserweights. He did his classic double powerbomb spot, which was really cool, and the finish I thought was really good. Um, he finished with the lion tamer with the knee, which I'm always a fan of when they finish with that. And I thought Commander also looked really good. He looked a lot more structured in his match, which is a thing that we've talked about before. That we've had a problem with some of his matches. Whereas the moves were good, but he had kind of trouble linking them together. Whereas this match, I thought everything kind of made sense. He made Commander look good without taking too much. I thought as well. So I would recommend. I would honestly recommend it. I saw Meltzer rated pretty high as well, which is whatever. I don't.
Yeah, it was like 4 or something, which that's probably a little high for me, but
It was.
I can't blame him.
Yeah,
I would only like dock some stuff for like those couple of sloppy spots near the end, which they actually made me pretty much completely forget about because I love the finish so much too.
Yeah,
they looked really weird there for about a 20-second window.
There was a few spots that weren't perfect. There was also a dive to the outside where like he basically just clipped like Jericho's wrist, and like Jericho didn't catch him at all.
Which that's what bad. Like for Commander.
It looked rough for Commander, so that part wasn't the best. But like, I'd spotlight it anyways, just because I really thought it was a nothing match that ended up being.
It blew
good.
my expectations away because
Yes,
I was pretty. I wouldn't say down in the match. I thought it was just gonna be whatever, and I was like, I didn't hate that it was booked, but I didn't expect to actually like it as much as that either.
No, I thought it was a throwaway Commander lose match. Let's be honest, but it ended up being a bit better than that, so I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I agree. We can wrap up there though.
Yeah,
because I think we got just about everything we need to, and we'll run down. So we already talked about Slammiversary, but crazy week so we'll have a lot of G1 next week to talk about.
There's so much G1.
We didn't even touch that today. We'll have both of us need to watch the Kenny Vikingo match, Triple Mania, like whether we watch the whole show or not.
My God,
we gotta watch that match. Collision, I think we obviously talked about could have a match of the year contender. Slammiversaries tonight. I think that's it.
Battle of the Belts.
Yeah. I'm counting that with Collision.
Yeah. Fair enough. I think there's a GCW show tonight as well with Utami against Billy Starks, which is one of the matches I'm really excited to look at. So I don't know how I'm going to catch that because I'm not going to be able to catch it live. So I'm going to have to hope to find a way to watch it.
Yeah. So what are you watching live tonight?
I think I'm going to switch between Collision and Slammiversary for the first half of the card. I'm not going to be watching Battle of the Belts unless Impact is done, which I don't think it will be.
No, it shouldn't be. I think it's going to end probably 10 minutes before Battle of the Belts ends if they go their usual time.
So what I'm probably going to do is it's going to be hard, man, because I really want to watch Slammiversary, but Collision seems like it's going to be very important tonight as well. So it's I
agree. Call. It was a hard choice for me too. I'm going to watch Slammiversary just because I feel like logistically it makes more sense. Watch a pay-per-view, watch the TV show where I can fast forward commercials after the fact.
Yep.
But I already have like FOMO Collision and haven't even fully made that decision yet.
It's going to be FOMO no matter what, I find. Like there's no way to watch.
I'm not going to watch both. I do have a setup where I could do 2 screens, but I put on like baseball or something on the other screen because for wrestling I want that to be the focus when I'm watching.
I can respect the heck out of people who can watch both at the same time, but for me, I'm so like easily distracted. If I have two screens, I'm just gonna miss both shows.
I would need to rewatch it anyway, and the thing is, basically, I would just be spoiling the show for me because I would probably see the results, but I wouldn't really pay attention to the matches. So I might as well just get that on Twitter, on the site, reading the chats, which I'm gonna do anyway.
Just
I don't really care about being spoiled.
Watch them separately so you can be properly emotionally invested in both. I think is the way to go.
Yeah, that's the plan. So we'll have a lot to talk about next week. But all of that we just ran down, and SummerSlam build's probably going to be ramping up for WWE too. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll have more time to catch up on WWE next week. I think not too much.
We'll definitely do a full SummerSlam preview too before that show. So
is it really like next weekend or like in 2 weeks?
No. I think it's they still got a good bit. I think it's
beginning of
early August.
Yeah, I think it's the first week of August.
And NXT has their show before it, like a week before it.
That's Great American Bash. July.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. There's a lot to talk about, man.
I think that's on a Sunday, but I think it's the same weekend that they're running the blind eliminator title shot thingy. Like that might be, Adam Cole and MJF challenge for the titles.
So once again, just a busy wrestling summer. It's like every week there's something going on this week, it seems like. So it's gonna be good.
Yeah. All right. So I'll see you next week. Thank anyone tuning in watching, and everyone have a good one.
Thanks everybody. Have a